Hello everyone, Michael here for Tactica Imperialis. Welcome to today's video. Sorry it's been so long to get a video out. I was hoping to still keep a bit of an upload schedule after my update on the 20th of April, but that hasn't really materialised, and I do apologise for that. Suffice to say, revision has taken over my life. Yay. Anyway, today I want to do a brief update on my Tau. You may remember I started a Tau army when I got back to university about 3 weeks ago, and I've now but 2 drones, which is neither here nor there, finished the start collecting box that I bought when I got back. I have bought something else, and I will be showing that off a little bit later in the video, although I haven't really started on it because, well, suffice to say, this thing, I've got another box that I'm thinking of going to start, but I think I'm going to sort of work my way into that. I might not even get it painted before I go home. Anyway, that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is for me to show you how my Tau army is coming along, because I've finished all of the actually important stuff in the box. So I think it's worth having a look at and getting a proper look at that paint scheme, because when I showed the army the first time, there'll be a link in the description if you want to go and have a look at it. We showed the paint scheme on Fire Warrior, which is not the ideal model to show it on, because I designed the paint scheme around the Battlesuits, and the Fire Warriors kind of came as a secondary concern. So, we're going to have a look at that, and yeah. So, if you do have any suggestions for the Tau, do feel free to let me know in the comments below. Before I go to that, though, I just want to make a comment on how I'm finding the project. I found that people hate Tau a lot more than I thought. When I went up to GW for Space Marine Day, which if you don't remember was the Space Marine's 30th birthday about a week ago, or a few, it depends on when you're watching this video, it was about, I can't even remember now, it was before my last update came out. Anyway, so when I went up there I realised there's little bits of hate toward Tau. I understand why. I mean, Tau are annoying, but I'm enjoying the models. I'm yet to put Tau on the tabletop, or at least I'm yet to put those Tau on the tabletop, because I said I wasn't going to be gaming while I'm here, and even if I wanted to play a proper like competitive game, I need like 1850, and at a push I could get to 1k if I built everything I had. I could get to 1k, maybe 1500 with a massive amount of pointless spamming of stuff. I could maybe get to 1.5k. So I haven't really had a chance to game with them, but the models themselves are very easy to build, easy enough to paint, although a little bit slow, particularly in the case of the Battlesuits, and they're generally pretty good. I do enjoy the aesthetic to Tau. I think that's sort of very divisive on Tau, is their aesthetic. Like, some people really hate the aesthetic, some people really like it. It's grown on me. Kind of like the Tau themselves have grown on me, their aesthetic has grown on me quite a lot. Plus, science. Science is cool. So yeah, let's take a look at the models. If you have any thoughts about them, let me know in the comments below, and I'll get straight on with it. Starting us off, we have the Cadre Fireblade that we had a look at in the last video, except now he's finished. Thank you to the person in the comments who suggested a Tau flesh paint scheme. Certainly came in useful. So what I've done is I painted his skin with a base coat of the Fang, and then a highlight or a dry brush, possibly, of Russ Grey. That's all I've done. I haven't bothered to wash it. I haven't done anything else fancy to that, because I just don't feel like it's necessary. I don't plan to have any Tau with their skin exposed. The only reason this guy does is because he's from the Ethereal, and there's no way to make him all armoured up. There are enough spare legs in the Fire Warrior kit to do it, but maybe if I did another Fireblade, I would change out the legs. I keep the Ethereal torso because that's nice and big and bulky, but then go on to a pair of Fire Warrior legs in future. I mean, there's enough spare components in there to do it, so maybe next time you would, but I quite like this model the way it looks. So I have talked about this model a little bit before. He's got his Breacher shoulder pad over here with the red and the blue. He's also got a Breacher backpack, just so I didn't take away any of the Fire Warrior backpacks, because I wanted all my Fire Warriors to be consistent, and we'll get to them in a memento. He's then got Pulse Pistol at his side, a little Auspex thing, and his Stave Cum rifle.
Now, I think I may have mentioned this before, but I put the gun the wrong way because I'm a moron. So if I was to do this model again, I would absolutely take this rifle and rotate it through 180 degrees this way. So it was hitting the other way just for aesthetic reasons, because it actually fits better when it's used as a rifle in that sense. Admittedly, in that position, it looks more like the crossblade here sort of can sit on his shoulder. But when it comes to actually swinging, swiveling, and firing, it doesn't quite work as well. Or at least I don't think it does anyway. There's not much more to say about him because I've done him already in the past. He's got his blue armor, little piece under there, red on the lining of the cloak, green outer cloak. Kind of like we've talked about before. Just let me put my keys in them because they're going to make a lot of noise. Next to him, we have our first two drones. These are both gun drones who... Symmetry. I just like symmetry. Now, these guys are the template that I'll be using for all drones, and you'll see a few more of them as we go through this video. And how I painted them is, if I just take... Come on, there we go. If I take this one off the flying stand, you get a little bit of a better look at how they work. So the inner section is painted Cantor blue, and then washed heavily. So it's almost black. Well, it's not black, but it's a very dark blue, particularly when the outer section is painted with just Macragge blue and not washed. Or if it is washed, it's then highlighted. This creates a color differential between the two. It's very, very stark on the camera. It's not normally that sticky outy, but the lighting effect is certainly having an effect from my light that I've got next to me. He's got the red and the orange antenna, same as Fire Warriors. He's got a little bit of white, same as Fire Warriors, a little metal grill at the back, and the pulse carbines, as you can see, are painted red. I'm going to turn this little guy around to get another look at that. And that's the same way as I painted pulse rifle. So if I just swivel the Fireblade, you can see his pulse rifle is red. He's got a yellow core component, just arbitrary reasons really, and a bit more orange because he's more senior. But most pulse weapons are painted red. You'll see them again on the Firewars with a white power core magnetic generator thingamajig. I wish I actually knew what that was. I think it's the magnetic field generator. I like to think it is. Painted white, and that's pretty much it. The underbelly is just silvers and blues. It's dead easy. And to be honest, drones are one of the easiest things in this damn army to paint. They're a bit time consuming, but they're easy, which is a good thing because you get 8 of them in this box, plus the hover drone for the ethereal if you decide to go down that route. I have a use for that, although I'm just in the middle of changing it, so I'll show it to you, but I won't have it finished in this video. So that's the Fireblade and his complement of gun drones. There's 2 of them. Now, one little gripe. I'm going to have this gripe now because I think it's relevant to have it now. You don't get enough gun drones. You cannot physically build all the drones as gun drones. You can't do it. You will fall 3 short. Bare minimum. You will be 3 short. So I have 2 here. I have another one to my left and another 2 that I've got built as gun drones. I then have 3 drones that I could not physically build as gun drones. Much to my annoyance, because gun drones to me are the best type of drone. Shield drones are kind of irrelevant because a lot of characters can take shield generators, particularly the guys that really need it, like Battlesuits, and Fireblades can be protected anyway. The Guardian drone is the only other type of drone that's useful, but that's only available to Fire Warriors. Marker drones are kind of useless on anything that's shooting a lot because they have to go on the unit's target, and you don't get components for missile drones, which is why I've kind of improvised with the hover drone, which I'll show you in a bit. So that's the Fireblade, and now we're going to take a look at the Fire Warrior team. Next up is what will undoubtedly be the first of many Fire Warrior teams. Now this one is built as a strike team, which means it has pulse weapons. In this case, pulse rifles. You can also build them with pulse carbines if you want to make a strike team, and pulse blasters if you wish to make a breacher team. It's a little bit confusing, but actually it's not that confusing at all. These guys are all built with pulse rifles and include a gun drone, chilling at the back. We've already talked about that guy. We have a missile drone, which I've had to convert, and we have a DS8 tactical support turret with a smart missile system. So, this is the paint scheme for the Fire Warriors, and as you can tell, it wasn't the best designed for the Fire Warriors. It's really well built for mech things like battlesuits and drones. Not so well suited for Fire Warriors. It's not bad, it works, and to be honest, I kinda don't mind it at all. but it's better suited to the Battlesuits, which we'll be showing off in a couple of minutes. So, how I painted these guys is pretty simple, to be honest. Blue armor with green fatigues, red weapons, and then bits of trim. So we have some white on their shoulder pads. I'll just turn this guy on the far left around. You can see the Tau symbol is painted in white. We have their backpacks, which is painted with bits of red and white as details, but again, it's painted in blue. Have little ammo bags or other things which are painted in various colors, predominantly orange and white. And we have the receiver antennae, which are painted red and orange with a white bit that links to the helmet. That pretty much is it. There is also some light blue highlighting in places, and all of their shoulder pads have a red component up at the, I picked the worst possible guy to show this on, have a red component up at the top to signify that they are Chasseurs basics. The Chasseurs, the unit sergeant, has the red component at the top. You can't really see it, but also has a larger red component at the bottom because he's higher ranking. He also has the bonding knife to further signify his rank, and he is not aiming his weapon, he's pointing at something. That's how I keep him different. He also has a breacher helmet. If you hadn't noticed, that is a breacher helmet, and these are Fire Warrior helmets, hence why they look a little bit different, and it's not just because he's a sergeant. So that is the squad. They do have a little bit of flesh, just the feet. You need to paint the feet with Tau flesh, and then I've got black hooven toe thingamajigs. I don't really know what they are. I think they're hooves. Now, there's not much more to say about these guys. I base coated them, did a little bit of blue highlighting in places, you can see it on the Chasseurs helmet, washed them down, and then highlighted again if I felt it was necessary, which quite often it wasn't. It was just a case of edge highlighting some blue, re-going over the white because I wanted it to stick out, and done. There was also some orange edge highlighting as well around the trim on the shoulder pads. On the rifles, I decided to take a slightly, I'm going to call it a cheat, where I painted into the recesses of the rifle. Now this guy, I'm at a horrible angle to show you this, so just give me a moment. So you might see on this guy that all the details have been picked out. I've gone into the lines and painted them. Now, there's two ways you can do this. One is to undercoat, and one is just paint into the lines and then paint over them, which is kind of like undercoating, but you can just be more accurate undercoating. And that's what I've done. I've painted into the lines on the rifle and onto the little thingy that I still don't know what it does, pulse generator I'm going to call it, just to try and pick out a little bit of detail without having to do a million points of highlighting, because quite frankly they're Fire Warriors. I have better things to do than a million bits of highlighting. Now you can, and this is what I've done on a couple of guys, so the guy back here has a highlighted red after I did his rifle. You might be able to see it at the bottom of his gun. There's a lighter red section. You can do that too. But as I got toward the end, I found painting into the lines just to be faster. And with any pulse rifles that I do in future, that's what I'm going to do. With the pulse carbines on the drones, they've got thicker lines, like deeper lines, so the wash goes into the recess and just picks that out really easily for you. It's kind of just a bit of a cheat. So that's those guys. Now let's talk about the drone. This is the Imperialis hover. Sorry about the, I hate the fact that my light has to sit on my left. So this is the Imperialis hover drone, excuse me. But I wasn't using the ethereal, so I decided to make it into a more useful drone. And you don't get missile drone parts in any kit ever. I think maybe broadsides get them, but they can't even take missile drones anymore, so I don't even know how you make missile drones. So I took a missile pod from the DS8 that was not being used because you can't attach it to a crisis suit either, and I stuck it onto this. I'm just going to actually put my camera back up here because it's going to help my cause. I painted it in exactly the same way as all the other drones, so dark blue, light blue, red, orange thingamajigs, and then I did a little green tabard underneath because that's how it sits in the air. You probably could mount it on a flying base, but yeah, kind of not necessary. The missile pod, now I have a paint scheme for the missile pod, and it's the same paint scheme for all weapons. It is basically, this section is painted red, this section is painted yellow, with a little black line in the middle. The missiles themselves are painted black, and that's about it. And there's some silver highlighting as well that goes on. And that is how I'm going to paint my weapons. I've got one example that I can show you on my crisis suits, and I'll get the weapons out as well, so you can just see how I've started doing them. As for the DS8, well, that was pretty simple. Smart Missile System complements pulse weapons far better than a missile pod does, under every damn circumstance because it's got the same range, same profile, it's just got more shots, and it can fire around corners. So I painted it the same way as the drones, except with an extra red bit here, and the missile system is painted with bits of red, bits of orange, and then black missiles. I could redo those bits in yellow to be more consistent, but I don't know if it's necessary. And, well, that's pretty much all there is to say about that thing. So I will always build as a smart missile system. They complement Fire Warriors far better, and they're the only guys that can take them. Even Breachers, who kind of wouldn't take DS8s anyway because they rely on being still, not mobile, which Breachers kind of have to be. You're better off with a smart missile system because it's more the sort of shots that you'd be firing anyway. So that's my Fire Warrior team. Team 1. Because I'm sure there will be many more Fire Warrior teams added to this army as time goes on. At least if you buy and you start collecting boxes, you're going to get lumped with them. But, of course, we're playing Farsight Enclaves, which means there's something far more fun and shiny that we need to talk about. Battlesuits. Ta-da! Battlesuits. Okay, this is the reason I like Tau. Battlesuits are too damn cool. I'm sorry, Battlesuits are too cool. I don't care what anybody says, they're cool. If you don't like them, sorry. Okay, so this is the models the paint scheme was designed for, and, well, it kind of shows, because, well, holy mother of myself, I think they're pretty as hell, despite the fact that they were painted by me, and that's confirmation bias, but, yeah, I really like the look of these guys. So this guy on the right, this was the first one I painted, and it looks a little bit more shoddy. It's passable. It'll do. So how I painted it is quite simple. All the armor got a Cantor blue base coat. Then the toes, or the bottom bits of the feet, got a McCrag blue highlight. I also did ice blue on this one. I probably should go back and do them on that one. And on the top, on the shoulder pad, I then did a couple of edge highlights of Lothern blue as well. Got the red section down at the bottom. That's important because that is meaning he is a Chasseur. If you remember my Fire Warrior Chasseur, I'm just going to bring the shot for a split second. See? At the bottom. Synergy. It's kind of important. It's how I like the heraldry. The jetpack was painted in red with a white section, and the middle section was left unwashed, whereas the outer section was washed down. We have the same antennae that we usually have. We have white highlighting down here, up on here, and on different parts of the leg arm. Each model has white in slightly different places, as you can see on this guy over here. We have a little control console thingamajiggy over there. We have, if I turn him around, okay, my only gripe with Battlesuits is they look like they lean really far back when you turn them around, and it's blooming annoying. Anyway, so we have
yellow, I assume it's a fusion generator, I'm not really sure what it is. A little bit of red on here, and the legs, I ummed and ahed about the legs, but I decided to paint them green. I decided to paint them green to match the fatigues of my actual Tau. Just for consistency, I then got silver bits on them as well. In the jetpack we have some silver, and there's a white, 2 pieces of white there. And, well, that's the long and short of it. The fusion pack is orange, then yellow, and then it's been glazed over. And, of course, we washed, we did some more edge highlighting, and then we glazed over. Now, I haven't highlighted onto these things, or at least I haven't on this guy, because I intend to cover them with weapons all the time, which means it's kind of irrelevant. Also, they have red fists. I know they should probably be green to fit with the rest of the armor, but the red look cooler. Then I've got the headpieces, and, well, that's about it. This guy is painted slightly better. I'm just going to turn him a little bit better so you can sort of get a better view of what's going on. So if you want to see the core idea of the scheme, this guy. If you want to see the scheme done right, this guy. And this guy's actually a little bit cooler because he's got a little raised section in front of his head, which I think is a really cool little piece of armor. If you were doing an iridium armor build, that's the component I would use. You also get some reinforced leg armor if you want to do that. And you have enough shoulder pads to make both arms be reinforced. Again, you can go with the iridium armor build for a commander if you wish to do it. Because that's the great thing about Battlesuits. You can make commanders out of them, which is exactly what I've done, and I'll be talking about him in a bit. There's not much more I can say about the suits other than that they are a bit of a pain to paint in one go. So what I recommend you do is in the assembly process, build them, but with blue tack. So what I suggest you do is you build the entire upper body as one piece. Head, arms, upper body, all in one piece. And you then do each jetpack as its individual component, as you'd expect. Shoulder pad can be its own individual piece, or you can attach it. I left it off, just personal preference. And then when you build the legs,
basically just glue everything on in one go. So one foot gets glued, then one leg gets glued. That gets wiggled around until it fits where the body fits. And then that gets pushed into place, and that wiggles around so you get a pose you're happy with using blue tack, and then you glue in the other foot. Now that sounds a little bit wibbly wobbly, and it is. And it can be a bit of a pain if you want to get to work in the next hour after you do the gluing. But what that will do is it will get you the legs in the exact pose you want, because nothing more annoying than misposing the legs. I mean, this guy worked really well with that little technique. I had it sort of nailed down on him, but this guy took ages to dry because the blue tack kept causing some funny business. So basically what you need to do is glue that, attach the glue to here and to here, get it locked in there, put it in there, then get that glue sorted, glue that into that, and then glue that down. It's funky business, and I might do a Tau Battlesuit full assembly painting guide in the future so I can sort of explain what's going on, but that's the core premise of it at any rate. So the sub-assemblies is the entire bit below this top armour, the top armour, head and arms, the shoulder pad if you want to leave it separate, and then each jetpack is an individual piece. And of course, that then leads on to the discussion about weapons. Now, as we've seen, my weapons are painted red, and if you look right in front of you, you can see a few more examples. The shield generator is orange. Don't ask me why it's orange. I just thought it looked cooler with orange, and I could change it over to yellow, but different because it's defensive, it's not offensive. Now, all of these weapons are missing a wash at the moment, but then they're done. So this is how I'm going to be painting all of my weapons. I talked about the missile pod earlier, but now you can actually see it done properly. And it's quite simple. The main core of the weapon is painted red. Any subsections are painted yellow. Any metallic-y looking bits, like barrels or fuel tanks or plating, are painted silver. And then the whole thing is given a wash. And that's it. It's a really simple and efficient method. You've just got to be quite accurate, particularly with the burst cannon, that you get everything in the right place. If you want to do the lines on the missile launcher to pick out some more detail, then by all means feel free to do that. Now my orange is extremely thin, which may do in the shield generator a pain in the butt, but that's probably the reason I chose yellow over orange, because I can do it in one coat. I don't need 2 to 4 coats of orange just to get a nice clean tone. But that's a personal thing. If you'd rather do it orange and copy my scheme doing it that way, then I thoroughly recommend you do so. It's really simple, and I have got a fusion blaster completely done, but I was showing that off in a little bit with my commander model. And this basically sets the tone for how the entire army is going to look, because the battle suits, I'm just going to focus in on this guy because he looks better, will sort of define the entire tone for the army, because it's Farsight. It's Farsight Enclave's version of Tau, which means battle suits are important. So yeah, get used to seeing this if I use my Tau, because the battlesuits will always form the core of my army. They're expensive as hell, and I have to paint a billion weapon systems, and there's so many options that it's going to be a pain in the butt. But battlesuits are extremely cool, and they're sort of what I really like. And I've got to be honest, I love the aesthetic of the battlesuits. The nice crisp edges are just so well defined, and it's a real joy to paint them. They're really easy, as long as you're patient with them. And they're just fun. Honestly, like, Tau battlesuits are really fun to paint. You've just got to be careful, and that sort of applies to painting anything that you want to paint to a reasonable standard. I mean, this is a semi-reasonable standard at best, but it'll do. Sorry about that, memory issues, and that probably means I'm going to have to speed walk through the last model. So we've got 2 gun drones here, and we've got 2 marker drones. I said I was moaning about drones earlier because you don't get enough. Well, this is the problem. I don't like marker drones, but they're better than shield drones, so I've made 2 of those. And I haven't bothered to paint them because, quite frankly, I'm never going to use them. So that is my battle suits. I just want to show you one more model who is extremely cool, and then we'll wrap this video up pretty quickly. Last up, the last Crisis battlesuit that we assembled out of the Start Collecting box, and that is Commander Brightsword. I said I was going to make a Tau Commander, and it was going to be one of the 8. This is Commander Brightsword. He wields fusion blades, which are basically fusion blasters that can also fight in melee, which is too damn cool. Quite frankly, it's way too damn cool, which means, yeah, he's awesome. Now, I went a little bit to town on this guy, so he's got a cooler helmet, he's got a larger shoulder pad, he's got more detailing on his legs, more details on his torso, all that sort of thing, because he's a chasseur. He might be a chasseur. I'm not sure if Brightsword's right, but I think he's a chasseur, which means that he is a commander. He is a boss. And that means he needs to stick out from this guy. Mr. Shasweed in the corner, sorry. Shasweed going to steal your limelight for a second. You can see way, way more red. Helmet, shoulder pad, leg bits, crotch area. There's more things signifying the fact that this guy is a boss. Which of course he should be, because the fact is Brightsword cost the best part of 200 and something bloody points. So in terms of how he's painted, he's not that different to the other guys. I mean, he's got a bit of extra red, bit of extra detailing in places, although not all that much. Again, the leaning back thing. Oops. This is the one gripe I have with Battlesuits. They look like they're super lean back from any angle other than the front angle where they look alright. So, it's not much really to say, oh, he's also got a bonding knife, because everybody in Tau, in Farsight, must take bonding knives. And this is also a chance for me to show off the fusion blasters. So, there's extra white on these things, just because the central core is probably glowing white hot. And this is what the weapons will look like after they've had one decent wash of Nuln Oil. They'll be finished, and they'll look something along those lines. And I love Brightsword. Brightsword is way too cool because he's the only guy, bar Farsight and one other guy who can take an Onega Gauntlet, which is kind of bad, that can take melee weapons. Admittedly, I have one problem with Brightsword, other than his cost, and that's the way I've posed him. If I were to do Brightsword again, which I quite easily could, I would absolutely change the head, and I would change the arm for, instead of being straight, I mean this arm, instead of being straight, I would have it with the arm off of this guy, which is a bit more bent, so it's kind of like he's in a blocking position. That's my only gripe. But he looks cool nonetheless, and he will be the guy who leads my army in the future until Farsight comes along to take control. Now, probably what grabbed your attention first, or once you stopped looking at Brightsword, was the drone, because it's a very interesting drone. This is a Warscaper shield drone. So, the Warscaper drone is an upgrade you pay for on your drones, and it basically gives you a bunch of buffs to you and debuffs to your opponent when it comes to moving through terrain, and it's quite cool, but it's bloody expensive, and it's one of Brightsword's relics. So, you have to make a shield drone, but at the same time, it has to do funky stuff. So what I did was I made a double-barreled drone. This is the really cool thing about the Tau drones. The shield on the shield drone actually fits underneath another piece, so you can make it double stacked. So I took a marker drone piece, and instead of attaching the marker light, I attached this little scanner sound thingy, so it kind of looks like it's scanning the terrain, providing data. Same with this little eyepiece, conducting density scans, scanning for mines, all that sort of thing. And again, this thing up at the top, maybe creating a disruption field for enemies. And of course, it's really cool. I put it on a taller flying base as well, just because it's important. And then painted it exactly the same way as every other drone I've done in this army. The problem is I can't take it off the base to show you because it doesn't stand up straight because it's a shield drone. Sorry about that. So yeah, I think the Warscaper drone is one of my favourite little conversions. The only actual conversion I've done, bar the missile drone that I've made out of the Ethereal thing, and the Fireblade is kind of more of a kit bash than a convert. Actually, to be fair, all of it's kit bashing rather than converting, because nothing's been chopped up, really. The Ethereal kind of did, so yeah, he's the conversion, and the kit bash is the drone, which I'm really quite happy with. And when I'm not running a Warscaper, it's just going to be a shield drone for my commander. Although, to be fair, in most games, like with Battlesuits jumping around the place, it might be useful to have. And if it makes your opponent fail a charge and have to eat Overwatch from you, then all the goddamn better. So that's Brightsword. He is my HQ for now. I mean, the Fireblade will take the lead in smaller games, and he'll just be a Shastra for the Crisis Squad. In other games, he'll lead the army and have two bodyguard Shastras, which are the other two guys. And that's the Tau army so far. Now, I have bought another Start Collecting box, just because the value on them is insane. I sold the Ethereal to someone at the Games Workshop, which got me a $5 back, which means that the Fireblade team was basically free. And I'm building them as breachers, because I think breachers are just too cool. I couldn't resist the temptation to take breachers. Sorry, I know. Strategically, not as good, but they fit the theme quite well, and, well, I think Guardian drones are cool. So I'm going to be building them with a Guardian drone and probably another gun drone, because gun drones are just the best. They've already got their smart missile turrets built. They're the only two models I've actually done for them so far, because, as I say, work is kind of taking control right now. When I've got something done with them, like maybe when I've got the breach team built and I've got a few models painted, I will show them to you. And of course, when they're done, we'll have another update, and then we'll have battle reports when I get home, because I will be using this thing. Maybe we'll have some other stuff going on, nudge nudge, but no spoilers here. You won't get that out of me, even though it's my channel. So thank you very much for watching the video. I do hope you have enjoyed it. Make sure to let me know what you think in the comments below. Actually, while I'm going to mention this, if you are going to do a gloss paint scheme, dust is a thing. Dust gets all over your stuff. You've probably noticed it on the drones particularly. Dust gets everywhere on these models. So maybe if you are doing a gloss paint scheme, keep them away, because then they don't get dusty. Or at least they do if they don't, if you don't keep your house at perfect cleanliness. Yeah, example of why I'm a student. Anyway, that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching the video. Sorry that it's been so long to get an update out for anything basically, but I'll do my best to get content out, and hopefully my friends will chip in as time goes by as well. So thank you very much. My name is Michael for Tactica Imperialis. Until the next time, I will see you all again for the greater good. Bye for now.